Hello everyone, I'm Amy Sundermann, and this video is an overview of my capstone project for the University of Iowa Masters in Strategic Communication program. I developed a personal professional website for my capstone project, so we'll do a quick overview of my paper, the academic paper that I wrote for this project, look at my personal professional website that was based on the principles outlined in that paper, and then we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into my academic example that I include in my portfolio on my website. So first, just a little bit of context. Careers have become personal brands that need to be managed in a virtual age. This came through loud and clear in the research that I did for my paper as to why is it important to have a personal professional website, particularly given that so many people are in a work from anywhere environment and are also independent contractors or freelancers. Being able to manage your identity in a virtual space where people are working with people from all over the world at any given time has become increasingly important. And in fact, just looking at the world of freelancing, I am a freelancer, I'm an independent contractor in the business writing and brand consulting space. And as of this year, there are over 73 million people freelancing in the United States. And in fact, that number is expected to increase to more than 90 million in the next 5 years. So there are a whole lot of people competing for work in the freelancing space. Now, not all of those 73 million people obviously are competing for the same writing jobs as me, but a fair number of them are. And so it's very important for me to develop an online identity that helps prospective employers understand who I am, what I'm about, what my skills are, and why I might be uniquely qualified to meet their particular needs. So, taking a quick look at what my capstone paper covered, I started out by talking about creating a personal brand along the lines of what I just discussed and the importance of personal professional websites and establishing one's unique identity. I then moved into what it means to design an effective user experience. What is that website once you've decided that you need one and that you're going to build one? And I start by discussing how important it is to know yourself and your why, not just your what, and to know your audience and understand their pain points. And then to use that information to tell a good story. Consider your audience's motivation to engage with you through your website and also their ability to engage with you. How easy do you make it for them to find the information that they need? It's important to make a site user friendly and to use effective design principles related to readability, navigation, having the correct pages for your audience, and in the correct order that they may prioritize reading them. And then whether you have a long scroll page or a paginated page. And then I move on to what it means to maximize your search engine optimization. And I look at a number of factors, including keywords. Those of us who had Eric Nelson remember fat head, chunky middle, and long tail keywords, the importance of a short load time. For your site, and also the use of responsive design, and how important that is to not only making your site accessible to people, but for maximizing SEO. And responsive design just refers to how well a site renders on various devices, from a laptop or a desktop to a mobile phone or a tablet. And it's very important, given that Google has moved to a mobile first priority in terms of how their algorithm crawls sites. Having a site that renders well on mobile is very, very important for your SEO. And if one is using a long scroll page like I did, versus a paginated page, looking at ways to improve SEO, since it does render as one long page. There are a number of ways to do that, and I can talk about that a little bit more when we look at my site. And then I move on to evaluating the site, and again, reaching back to our friend Eric Nelson, and really considering your goals. What is the purpose of the site? Is it to generate interest, consideration, action, loyalty? What is the purpose, and how well are you doing against that purpose? And then using the analytics that are available to you. Many website building platforms have analytics tools built into them that will help you look at your daily visits, repeat visits, bounce rate, feedback, downloads off of the site, etc. That should help you know if your site is doing what you hoped that it would do in the first place. And then I looked at 4 examples of other individual practitioners' websites to see what they were doing. What are other people doing in this space? And as you might imagine, there are as many ways to interpret the rules of website design as there are people creating websites. So I referred back to a paper that I found in my research by Thielsch and Hirschfeld, who developed a system of scales called the WebClick scales, WEBCLIC. And that CLIC acronym stands for clarity, likability, informativeness, and credibility. And so I use those scales to evaluate the four examples in my website so that I could make more of an apples to apples comparison as to what was working and what wasn't working so well with them. And so I talked about understanding your audience. And so for my paper and to apply to the development of my website, I created two audience personas. One is Marketing Mike, and Mike is a marketing and strategic communications manager for a Midwestern insurance company. He oversees a team of full-time employees, but they have too many deliverables and not enough people to deliver them. He doesn't have the budget for another full-time employee, but he can use temporary help. The problem that he's run into is that whenever he brings on a freelancer, it takes just as much time to get them up to speed as it would for him or one of his people to write the content himself. So he hasn't had a lot of success. He needs someone who can hit the ground running and get up to speed really fast. And what he'd like to do is be able to expand the internal and external communications that his company is producing. He wants to free up his full-time staff to explore some new projects, but he just doesn't have the bandwidth to do it right now. My second audience persona is nonprofit Nancy, and Nancy addresses the brand consulting side of what I do. She is a development director for a nonprofit that helps furnish homes for people who are exiting homelessness in our community. And she really needs to get more individuals and corporate donors to support her organization. And she'd also like to apply and get more grants to expand their operations. So her issues are that there are a whole lot of social service organizations in the county and they're all competing for the same money. And so Nancy really needs an elevator speech that'll help potential donors understand why her organization is unique and why they should donate to her. And also a good vision statement and positioning statement would help with her grant writing and help her craft a winning message there. So each of those personas address a different aspect of what I do. So now we look at my personal professional website. And as you can see here, this is the homepage. It is designed using the Z pattern where we go across the navigation bar and then we come down to my statement of why I'm here to solve problems and end up with my photo and get in touch. And now we'll delve into the site in a bit more detail. So I really focused on my why and my intended audience's pain points to enhance their motivation to engage with me with my site. And I strove for ease of use to improve their ability to engage. That's part of the reason why I chose a long scroll site because it scrolls well on mobile. It's not a particularly content heavy site at this point. I don't have a lot of animations or, well, any animations or any video. And it's not super image heavy. So it should not take a long time to load or to render. So that shouldn't be a problem. I do, though, have what I think are the important sections that people will care about when they want to come to my site. As you can see, I have some navigation buttons at the top that let us zip to what we want to see. Here's my about section. It's where I talk about the why and the what. And so I strove to use a mix of keywords such as writer, which is a big old fat head keyword, as well as Iowa writer and business content writer in order to have some of those longer tail keywords in there that apply more specifically to me. I used active voice in my copy, and I refer to the user directly as you. This I found in my research to be a important and compelling way to address the user that brings them into the site in a more engaged way. I use images as well as words to help convey a sense of who I am and what I offer with use of color and also use of the pencils and use of the notebooks. I think it should give a clear idea that I am a writer, but I also take kind of a creative bent to my work. I use italics and bolds to break up larger blocks of text, and I use the Helvetica typeface to enhance accessibility. So just looking through the site here, this is my about section where I talk about, I address the need for speed. I address the need that, people often come to me when they've tried to do some of this work on their own and have been frustrated by it. It's not easy. And I've been doing this work for a long time. And I found that solutions really lie in the humanity that connects us all. My next section is my blog. The title of this particular entry is Strategic Communication in a Post-Truth World, and I will store my blogs in a repository down here that people will be able to click on. And then we have my resume that people can download a PDF of or just scan it on the site. And I'll show you how our back buttons work here. I do have a contact button that's right front and center. And then we have testimonials on various, speaking to various aspects of what I do. And then we have examples of my work. So I would say a weakness I have right now in terms of examples are that I don't have a ton of them at the moment because I haven't been working for a while. But I am hopeful that as I continue to as I get more freelance work once I graduate from the program, that this section will become a lot more robust. But I do have an example that I'm pretty proud of here, which is actually my academic example, and it is an amalgamation of projects from two classes that I did in the master's program, one being strategic communications research and the other being strategic communications campaigns. And we will go and take a little bit deeper look at that. So again, my example is for City Circle Theater Company, and what I did was take two projects that I had done, one for my strategic communications research class and one for my strategic communications campaign class, and combine them together into one presentation for the City Circle board to help them understand how we can break through barriers and grow our audience by attracting people who live nearest to the theater to come to our shows, because right now they're not coming and we don't really know why they're not coming. And so I go through this presentation by showing them the problem and explaining that only about 5% of our audiences are coming from the neighborhoods surrounding the Cornwall Center for the Performing Arts. We do a SWOT of City Circle. We take a look at who our neighbors are, who live closest to the theater. And then I tell them that we are going to have a two-part proposal. The first part deals with research, and the second part is a community campaign. So our research element is to understand how City Circle Theater Company can grow its audience by attracting more people who live in the neighborhoods nearest the theater in the Coralville community. And our question is, what barriers are preventing people who live within these 3 US Census tracts closest to us from attending City Circle productions? So we look at a number of dependent and independent variables, and we have a two-pronged approach. We look at focus groups as well as a quantitative online survey. And then I go into a whole lot of methodology on that and explain to them what great things can happen if we are effective at doing this research. Then I talk to them about a community campaign, the purpose of which is to get people in our community engaged with messaging about City Circle's theater opportunities, and also increase their ability to engage by taking the theater experience out of the theater, out of the auditorium, and making it more accessible to them. And the campaign is called Join the Circle Community Events. There are a number of community events that I have planned with potential partners, and we have a proposed calendar and a number of content examples, including a postcard for a community meal, 4th of July event, and some social media posts for our open mic and our adult improv class. And I end with a budget and some KPIs. And so we'll take a look at how City Circle responded to that presentation. Reflecting on this example, as I mentioned, it was a combination of projects from two classes. And to me, that was really important because it represents how we work in the real world. Our projects don't exist in a vacuum. Research should lead to some kind of action or program or campaign. And so it was great to be able to dovetail these two projects together into something that was actually meaningful and useful and informative for the board. And prior to these two classes, I had no research background at all, didn't know the first thing about it. And I hadn't worked on a campaign since before the advent of digital media. So there was a steep learning curve for me with both of these. And I feel like these projects really demonstrate the knowledge and skills that I developed in these areas. The City Circle Board was really impressed with and grateful for the work that I did. They wish that they could do all of it, but the reality is that there just isn't the human bandwidth to do everything in this proposal. But they will do some of it in pieces. If I had it to do over again, I might have tailored it a little bit more to their reality when I actually put the presentation together for the board, so that perhaps it wouldn't be quite as overwhelming to them. But they did really like it and appreciate the work that went into it. And finally, just some overall learning from the course, really understanding the significance of the why and that people have very similar skills. When it comes to creating a personal professional website, it's really important to put effort and focus into ensuring that your personality and tone of voice comes through to set yourself apart from your competition. Keeping your audience's pain points central to your messaging and their needs and wants and frustrations at the forefront of your design and content will really help connect with those audiences. And then finally, from an internal perspective, the value of having another pair of eyes or several pairs of eyes on your work cannot be underestimated. Getting feedback from as many people as possible is critical. I had 8 people look at my site and incorporated feedback from, I think, all of them. And because everybody sees different things and everybody has something different to contribute to that conversation. And it only makes the work better. So I really appreciate everyone who gave me feedback on my site very, very much. And that's it for me. Thank you so much. Congratulations to everyone who is graduating. There are my resources. And thank you again.